The scene opens with our protagonist, Tanjiro Kamado, who lives on a snowy mountain with his family, earns a living by selling charcoal in the nearby town. He, as usual, is going to the town and says goodbye to his lovely family. On his way, he meets his younger sister, Nezuko, who has put their sibling Rokute to sleep so he doesn't make a scene when Tanjiro leaves. Tanjiro says goodbye to Nezuko and continues his journey. Walking alone, he tells himself that though they don't have an easy life, they are happy. After all, life is exactly what we make out of it. Now Tanjiro soon reaches the town and one of his buyers appreciates him for delivering charcoal, even in this harsh weather. There, a guy is being accused of breaking a vase, so Tanjiro decides to help him out. He has an acute sense of smell, so he sniffs the broken vase and reveals that he smells a cat. Proving the guy innocent, Tanjiro goes about his day and manages to sell all the charcoal by evening. He begins his journey back home. An old man who appears to be his well-wisher stops him and tells him that it's too dangerous to climb up the mountain at this hour. The man offers his place to spend the night and Tanjiro happily agrees. At the dinner table, the man tells him about man-eating demons, who are most active at night, so he shouldn't stroll around after the sunset. Tanjiro asks if those demons can get inside houses and kill the residents, and gets an affirmative response. He tells himself that demons are not real, and goes to sleep. The following morning, Tanjiro leaves early to head back home. As he gets close to their house, he smells blood in the air and immediately rushes toward his house. There, he is stunned to see his siblings lying on the ground, all covered up in blood. Before he could comprehend what happened to them, he sees that his mother and brother are dead inside the house too. Witnessing the horrible sight, Tanjiro breaks down and shouts in pain. However, he picks up Nezuko and starts running toward the town as out of all his family members, she was still warm, signaling that she is still alive and could be saved. As he is running downhill, his lungs start hurting due to the icy wind, but he endures everything and keeps moving. Soon after, Nezuko gets conscious and starts to turn into a demon. Tanjiro tries to help her, but she has turned completely and attacks him. He remembers what the old man told him yesterday and realizes that his sister is now a demon. Fortunately, a demon slayer named Jiyu Tomioka arrives on the scene to kill Nezuko, but Tanjiro pushes her away and saves her. Tomioka then grabs Nezuko and reveals that her wounds got infected with the blood of the demon who slaughtered their family. So she's turned into a demon now. Tanjiro realizes that Tomioka is about to finish off Nezuko, so he throws his hatchet in the air and then attacks him from the front with just a stone. Tomioka stomps him in an instant but barely manages to dodge the hatchet. This move by Tanjiro completely shocks him as a mere kid with no training experience, just outsmarted him. On top of that, Tomioka gets even more surprised when he sees that Nezuko is able to resist his demonic urges and she is protecting his brother instead of devouring him. Hence, he lets Nezuko live and tells them to find Sakanji Urokodaki on Mount Sagiri. Tanjiro then buries his family and makes his way toward Mount Sagiri with Nezuko. The following day, Tanjiro learns that Nezuko is extremely afraid of the sun, so he covers her in a basket and continues his journey. After some days, they arrive at Mount Sagiri, but Tanjiro smells blood in the air. They look inside the hut and find a demon devouring humans. The demon soon attacks Tanjiro too, but Nezuko saves him and the two manage to chop off the demon's head. However, the demon's body continues to fight, so they throw it off a cliff and trap its head on a tree. Tanjiro picks up a rock to smash the head, but he is unable to do so because of his kindness and empathy. A man in a goblin mask witnesses this and thinks that Tomioka has sent the wrong person. On the other hand, Tanjiro falters for too long and sunrise happens. As the sunlight hits the demon's head, it turns into ashes in mere seconds. After that, the man in the goblin mask buries the dead men and slaps Tanjiro for being indecisive. The man is none other than Sakanji Urokodaki, and he scolds Tanjiro for not killing the demon. Now, Urokodaki says that he will test him to see if he's fit to become a member of the Demon Slayer Corps. The two first go for an hour-long run and Tanjiro immediately gets exhausted by it. But the real test starts now and Urokodaki makes him climb Mount Sagiri. There he tells him to reach the hut at foot of the mountain before daybreak and then disappears. Tanjiro thinks that he can easily reach the hut using his acute sense of smell, but it turns out there are traps everywhere on the mountain. Tanjiro falls into a pitfall and realizes that this is going to be much harder than he anticipated. Nevertheless, he reaches the hut and passes his first test. The next day, Urokodaki explains that the Demon Slayer Courts have existed since ancient times and their only goal is to hunt down as many demons as possible. And all trainees must survive the final selection process held at Mount Fuji to become a member of the Demon Slayer Corps. However, whether someone is eligible for the final selection or not is in the hands of their trainer. In this case, Urokodaki. Now, Tanjiro's training begins and Urokodaki repeatedly makes him descend from the mountain filled with traps. His sense of smell improves over time, but so do the traps. His training regime includes swinging his over 1,000 times and dueling unarmed Urokodaki who beats him like nothing. Meanwhile, Nezuko always remains asleep and Tanjiro has started to get worried for her. After a while, Urokodaki teaches him 10 water-breathing forms, allowing him to inhale more oxygen than usual. 6 months later, Nezuko is still asleep and Tanjiro has been training rigorously all this while. Urokodaki summons him and tells him that he has nothing more to teach him and the rest is up to him now. To get to the next level, Tanjiro has to cut a big boulder in half. Slicing the boulder will also make him eligible for participating in the final selection process. Tanjiro tries slicing the boulder with his sword, but to no avail. So he keeps doing everything Urokodaki told him. But even after 6 more months, he is nowhere close to cutting the boulder. Suddenly, a guy named Sabito shows up and challenges Tanjiro for a duel. Sabito beats him without breaking a sweat and tells him that he has mastered nothing. He has just memorized what Urokodaki told him. Later, a girl named Mikomo also shows up and begins helping Tanjiro in his training. She helps him master total concentration breathing, and he begins making progress. 6 more months pass by, and Tanjiro and Sabito prepare for a duel. This time, Tanjiro senses an opportunity and attacks faster, cutting Sabito's cat mask in half. Sabito and Mikomo give him a relieved smile and then disappear. The next thing Tanjiro sees is that he has sliced the boulder in half. It wasn't Sabito's mask, it was the boulder. Urokodaki finally praises him and tells him that he is eligible to participate in the final selection process. Tanjiro bursts into tears and hugs his master. That night, Tanjiro gets to eat a big meal as a celebration. Urokodaki gives him a warding mask and tells him that a demon is as powerful as the number of humans he has devoured. As the sun shines again, Tanjiro prepares to leave for the Mount Fujikasen. While leaving, he mentions Sabito and Mokama, and Urokodaki is shocked to know that Tanjiro knows the name of the dead children he once trained. Now, Tanjiro reaches at the Mount Fujikasen, which is entirely covered with wisteria flowers. 2 girls then explain the final selection process for becoming a demon slayer. Participants are required to survive on the mountain for 7 days straight, but the mountain is filled with demons, brought there by the bravest demon slayer swordsman. The selection begins and Tanjiro starts looking for a place to spend the night. However, he is attacked by 2 demons at once who are eager to devour him. Tanjiro remembers his training and uses the water-breathing technique to finish both the demons off in just 1 strike. But before he could rest, he sees a fellow participant running away from a demon. Tanjiro takes a peek, and it's the biggest demon he has ever seen. The hand-like demon was about to eat the fellow participant when Tanjiro intervenes and saves him. But surprisingly, the demon gets happy to see Tanjiro's mask. The demon reveals that Urokodaki is the one who captured him and he has eaten 13 of his students so far. Tanjiro is completely scared to hear it, but gets even more frightened when he learns that the demon killed Sabito and Mikomo last time. So he was just talking to their souls during his training. Tanjiro gathers courage and promises himself that he will take the revenge on all 13 students by killing this demon. He remembers Sabito's advice and uses the water surface slash technique to slice the hand demon's neck from his body. The demon disappears into thin air and the souls of all the people he devoured finally rest in peace. After that, Tanjiro goes on to hunt down numerous demons and survives all 7 days on the mountain. When he comes out, he sees that out of all the participants, only 3 others have managed to survive. Now the 4 of them are assigned a Kasugai crow of their own, which will be used for communication. Then the 2 girls let them select the ore which will be used to forge their special swords. Tanjiro uses his sense of smell to select an ore and returns back to the Mount Sagiri. There he is delighted to meet Nezuko, who is finally awake. Bursting out into tears, both hug each other and cry out loudly. Urokodaki is also extremely delighted to see Tanjiro alive and hugs them. At night, Urokodaki explains that Nezuko is special. Unlike other demons, she can recover her strength by sleeping, so she doesn't have to eat humans. Then 15 days later, a guy named Haganezuka show up at their door and informs Tanjiro that he has forged his Nikrin sword. Nikrin swords are also known as color-changing swords, so when Tanjiro holds the sword in his hands, it turns pitch black, surprising both Urokodaki and Haganezuka. Now, Tanjiro gets an order from his Kasugai crow that he is required to go to the town in the northwest and hunt down the lurking demon that has been feeding on young girls. Tanjiro is both nervous and excited to receive his first assignment, and the scene ends there. The next day, Tanjiro wakes up with new grace and prepares to leave for his mission. Urokodaki gives him a special box so he can carry Nezuko with him, even during the day. Then the master and the disciple share a head nod, and Tanjiro begins his journey of becoming a demon slayer. He soon reaches the town in the northwest and begins analyzing the street where the demon was seen last time. He can sense the demon's smell still lurking in the area, so he decides to wait there till night. As the night falls, the demon makes its move and begins following a young girl. As the girl falls asleep, the demon appears from beneath her bed and kidnaps her. Luckily, Tanjiro arrives at the scene just in time and saves the girl from being devoured by the demon. However, he is shocked to know that the demon can move underground using his blood demon art. Tanjiro hands over the girl to a man standing there and moves to attack the demon. But surprisingly, there are 3 demons instead of 1, so Tanjiro changes his breathing from midair. As a result, he misses the vital parts, and the swamp demon survives along with his clones. Then we get into a flashback where Urokodaki explains to Tanjiro that the source of all demons is only one. He was the first demon, Muzan Kiputsuji, and he was also the one who killed Tanjiro's family. Urokodaki suspects that Muzan might be able to turn Nezuko back into a human. So Tanjiro pledges to hunt down Muzan in order to save Nezuko and bring back peace into the world. Meanwhile, in the present time, Tanjiro has slashed the arms of all 3 demons, but they soon regenerate their limbs. Then, as Tanjiro is about to get hit by one of the demons, Nezuko jumps out of her box and saves her brother. It turns out that she is a strong demon too, and she doesn't need Tanjiro to protect her. So Tanjiro tells Nezuko to protect the humans, and he shifts his complete focus towards the demons. Nezuko sees the girl and the man as her family and caresses them. This is because Urokodaki used a hypnotic suggestion on her, which makes her see all humans as her family. Now Tanjiro jumps into the swamp and defeats the 2 clone demons, using the 6th form of his water breathing. On the land, the demon makes a clear strike on Nezuko, causing her to bleed. Tanjiro arrives immediately and chops off both the arms of that swamp demon. He then questions the demon about Muzan, but he starts trembling in fear and reveals nothing. So Tanjiro has no option but to finish him off. Tanjiro then turns back to Nezuko, who has already fallen asleep, in order to heal her wound. As the sunrise brews, Tanjiro says goodbye to the man and leaves the town. His Kasugai Crow appears once again and tells him to head to Asakusa, Tokyo for his next mission. Tanjiro arrives in the city and stops at a shop to eat some udon. While resting, he suddenly picks up a scent in the air. Devastated, he drops the udon and picks up his sword to chase the scent. This is because it is the same smell he felt at his home when his entire family was killed. Tanjiro reaches the source of the scent and sees that it's Muzan Kibutsuji, the first demon. There, Tanjiro wants to fight him, but he's shocked to see that Muzan has a daughter and wife who are innocent humans. While Tanjiro is flustered by the revelation, Muzan scratches a passerby, turning the man into a demon. He starts attacking others, so Tanjiro has no choice but to divert his attention from Muzan to the demon. This way, Muzan flees the scene, but not before noticing Tanjiro's sun earrings. Tanjiro is busy restraining the demon and screams to Muzan that he will find him and kill him no matter what. Then 2 demon slayers named Tameo and Yoshiro assist Tanjiro in restraining the demon and reveal that they also wish to annihilate Muzan. Meanwhile, Muzan farewells his family and summons 2 demons named Susumaru and Yaiba to kill the demon slayer with the sun earrings. Then we see Muzan trembling in fear because a former demon slayer named Yorichi, who once nearly killed him, also used to wear the same sun earrings that now Tanjiro wears. So Muzan wants Tanjiro dead as soon as possible. On the other hand, Tameo reveals that apart from being a doctor, she is also a demon. Yet she and Yoshiro don't devour humans to live. They only consume a minimal amount of blood to survive. Being a doctor, she is determined to find a cure that can turn demons back into humans. For that, she needs to study the blood of different demons, especially those who are closely related to Muzan. So she wants Tanjiro to help her with this. Tanjiro happily agrees as he has promised Nezuko that he'll turn her back into a human. Suddenly, their house gets attacked by round objects called chimeras. The chimeras are under the influence of Susumaru and Yaiba. As Tanjiro struggles to dodge the fast-moving chimeras, Yoshiro's head gets chopped off by one of them. But being a demon, he regenerates and lends his vision to Tanjiro, allowing him to see the direction of chimeras. Susumaru reveals that they are part of 12 Kizuki, the demons who serve directly under Muzan. Now Tanjiro distracts Susumaru, so Nezuko can attack Yaiba, who is hiding in the trees and is controlling the chimeras remotely. With that, Tanjiro uses his 4th form of water breathing to slash down all the chimeras. Now Tanjiro fights with Yaiba while Nezuko and Yoshiro attempt to take down Susumaru. Tanjiro sees an opening on Yaiba, but he uses his blood demon art to throw Tanjiro in the air. After breaking some bones in his body, Tanjiro learns to move around the arrows by swirling in the opposite direction. He then uses his 3rd form of water breathing to avoid the arrows by trapping them in a whirlpool. Meanwhile, Nezuko tries to kick off one of the chimeras and gets her leg chopped off. So Yoshiro handles the situation by fighting Susumaru with his blood demon art, which allows him to go invisible. Then Tanjiro manages to slash off Yaiba's head, but he launches a last powerful attack before turning into ashes. The attack causes Tanjiro to move rapidly in the air. He uses his moves to counter the direction of the force. Yet he falls heavily to the ground and breaks his ribs and legs. He tries picking up his sword, but to no avail. He is too exhausted to help, while Nezuko and Yoshiro fight Susumaru. Surprisingly, Nezuko is holding up strong and she is kicking chimeras like football. She keeps getting stronger and stronger, and even Susumaru is shocked by her strength. Yet she wouldn't be able to finish her off in an all-out battle, so Tameo intervenes and uses her aroma magic spell to make Susumaru say Muzan's name. As soon as the demon blurts out the words Lord Muzan, gigantic arms come out of her body and she dies on the spot. This is due to Muzan's curse, which he uses on most of his demons. Then Tameo looks at the demon's eyeball and reveals to Tanjiro that she was not one of the 12 Kizuki because all Kizukis have their rank engraved on their eyeballs. Plus, these 2 were too weak to be a Kizuki. Then Tameo takes a sample of the demon's blood and Tanjiro sits beside the bloody clothes in exhaustion. As the sunset happens, the demon's body along with its blood dissipates into thin air. Tanjiro feels sad as a result and realizes that this is the punishment of being a demon. Not even their body gets to rest in peace. This makes Tanjiro hate Muzan even more. Later, Tameo reveals that they are leaving the town to find a safer place. She also tells him Yashiro's backstory. Yoshiro was on the brink of death when Tameo was treating him, so her last resort was to turn Yoshiro into a demon. Now they say their farewell and the two parties head their way. Tanjiro's Kasugai crow hovers over his head and tells him to head southeast. There, Tanjiro sees a demon slayer in a yellow outfit bothering a girl. Tanjiro intervenes and finds out that the guy is Zenitsu, one of the demon slayers who cleared the final selection with him. Despite being a demon slayer, Zenitsu has zero self-confidence and keeps crying over small things. For example, he's crying right now because the girl wouldn't marry him. All in all, Zenitsu thinks of himself as a loser and tags along with Tanjiro to head southeast. After some time, they reach a haunted mansion and Tanjiro says that he smells blood in the air. However, Zenitsu says that he doesn't hear anything suspicious. Turns out, Zenitsu possesses super hearing ability, similar to Tanjiro's ability to pick up scents. There, they see two scared siblings standing under a tree. Tanjiro realizes that the kids are spooked, so he comforts them first and then asks them about what happened. The boy reveals that they were traveling as usual when a monster jumped at them and kidnapped their big brother. There, Zenitsu hears another creepy sound coming from the mansion when suddenly a wounded man jumps out of the window and falls to the ground. Soon enough, the man takes his final breath in Tanjiro's arms. Determined to take revenge, Tanjiro enters the mansion with Zenitsu, who is still shitless scared. He starts screaming, so the siblings enter the mansion as well. Suddenly, the rooms they are standing changes and Tanjiro, along with the girl, gets separated from Zenitsu and the boy. Tanjiro caresses the little girl and promises that he will get her back to her brother and save everyone. And just then, a huge demon shows up and Tanjiro senses the strongest scent he has ever picked up from a demon. After all, the demon is one of the former 12 Kizuki.
Meanwhile, a scared Zenitsu is searching for a way out and comes across a muscular guy who is wearing a boar mask. The guy's name is Inosuke, and he runs away without saying anything. On the other hand, Tanjiro attempts to attack the demon, Kyogai, but the demon hits his drum, and the walls of the room change, causing Tanjiro's attack to fail. Tanjiro senses an approaching scent, and it's Inosuke. Turns out Inosuke is wielding Nichirin swords, and he is a demon slayer too. Inosuke also launches an attack, but Kyogai hits his drum again, and the dimension of the room changes. Then another drumbeat launches a claw-like attack in the room. Now, before Tanjiro could react, he hears a different drumbeat and finds himself in a different room. The scene then changes to Zenitsu and the boy who is being attacked by a lizard-like demon. Zenitsu passes out seeing the demon, and the demon moves toward the boy to devour him. Just then, Zenitsu stands up with a different aura and uses the first form of his thunder breathing to slash the demon's head in just 1 second. He's not useless after all. Yet, he immediately transitions back to his cowardly personality and begins crying. Back to Tanjiro. He finds the girl's injured brother and they reunite. The big brother somehow found a drum and used it to change rooms whenever a demon approached him. Tanjiro then finds Kyogai and begins fighting him. But the injuries of his battle with Yaiba are still not healed, so it hurts even to move. Luckily, he remembers Urokodaki's advice and begins using water-breathing techniques to compensate for his injuries. Kyogai then begins rapidly beating all of his drums, but Tanjiro manages to evade all the attacks. Tanjiro uses his 9th form of water-breathing and moves closer to Kyogai, and then cuts his head off. Tanjiro appreciates Kyugai's blood demon art and Kyugai is shocked by it. Now we get to see the backstory of Kyugai. He was once a writer, but nobody acknowledged his work and his boss humiliated him, so Kyugai stopped going out and started spending his time playing drums when Muzan approached him and turned him into a demon. That's why hearing Tanjiro appreciate his blood demon art allowed him to die in peace. After picking up the siblings, Tanjiro leaves the mansion and finds Inosuke beating up Zenitsu. Zenitsu is protecting the box that Tanjiro carries with him, because Tanjiro earlier mentioned that this box is more precious to him than his life. On the other hand, Inosuke wants the box because he can sense that there is a demon inside it. Witnessing all this fills Tanjiro with rage, so he attacks Inosuke and breaks his ribs with just one blow. Inosuke, however, is not one of those who backs down and begins fighting Tanjiro barehanded. Though their fight lasts a while, Tanjiro ends it with a fine headbutt. Inosuke's boar mask falls after this, and his attractive plus feminine face surprises everyone. After some time, they bury the ones who passed away in the mansion, and their crows tell them to descend the mountain. There, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke tag along and travel together to their next destination. By night, the trio reaches the foot of the mountain and finds the Wisteria family's mansion. Tanjiro's crow tells them to rest there until they are fully recovered. An old lady opens the door and welcomes the 3 demon slayers. The old lady gives them a change of clothes and serves them a big meal. Inosuke eats like there is no tomorrow, and the trio head to their beds. There, Tanjiro asks Inosuke why did he join the Demon Slayer Corps, and he replies that he didn't. He just snatched these swords from a demon slayer and began hunting demons. Then, Zenitsu asks why Tanjiro is traveling with a demon. Tanjiro explains that the demon is her beloved sister and introduces Nezuko to the gang. As soon as Zenitsu sees her, he falls in love with her and begins attacking Tanjiro for hiding her all this while. The following morning, our 3 demon slayers prepare to leave and thank the old lady for her hospitality. While leaving, the old lady tells them to live their lives with great pride and wishes them good luck in battle. Inosuke wonders what living your life with great pride means, but reaches no conclusion. Nevertheless, the trio reaches their destination by night, which is another creepy-looking mountain. Zenitsu tries to convince others not to go on the mountain, but Tanjiro smells something and rushes towards it. Inosuke joins him too, and Zenitsu is left behind. Tanjiro and Inosuke find a wounded demon slayer asking for help, who abruptly gets pulled on the mountain. The duo immediately ascends the mountain that is filled with spiders and their webs. There, Tanjiro finds another scared demon slayer, so he offers his help. However, the guy is disappointed to know that Tanjiro and Inosuke are just Mizunoto, lower-ranked demon slayers. He explains that 9 other demon slayers like him were called on the mountain, but some started attacking their own group, so they need a Hashira here, the uppermost rank and strongest of demon slayers. The scene then changes to the headquarters of the Demon Slayer Corps, where a guy gets to know about the situation of demon slayers on the mountain. He appoints 2 Hashira, Giyu Tomioka and Shinobu, to take care of the crisis. Meanwhile, Zenitsu feels bad for staying behind and gathers the courage to ascend the mountain. Tanjiro and the group then come across other demon slayers who begin attacking them with their swords. Tanjiro tells Inosuke not to hurt them as they are still alive and it's against the rules to fight other slayers. They realize that their comrades are being controlled by webs on their backs, so Inosuke quickly cuts all the webs. However, spiders attach the webs back in seconds, so cutting them is useless. Tanjiro picks up the scent of the demon controlling them, but he is unable to pinpoint the location. So, Inosuke uses his beast-breathing spatial awareness and finds the demon controlling the webs. Suddenly, a different and mysterious demon, Rui, shows up and warns them not to hurt his family. He quickly vanishes after that, and a control demon slayer begs Tanjiro to kill him, as numerous bones in his body are broken and he can't take this anymore. Tanjiro comes up with a plan and tangles up the webs that are controlling the slayers, rendering the blood demon art useless. Unfortunately, the demon controlling them is angry about this, so she kills all her puppets in an instant. Tanjiro is shaken up by the incident, yet he continues on his mission. Now, as they get closer, they come across another puppet, which is a gigantic body with no head. Tanjiro plans to cut off all the limbs of the body and uses the 5th form of water breathing to do so. Inosuke assists him and cuts the body sideways to end the battle. On the other side of the mountain, Zenitsu gets frightened to see weird spiders with baby heads. He soon encounters the real threat, a spider demon, who informs Zenitsu that he has already been poisoned. Zenitsu is overwhelmed by this revelation and starts crying out loudly. Here we get to see Zenitsu's backstory. His master saved him from a mountain of debt and began training him as a swordsman. However, he got hit by lightning during his training, and his hair color changed. Zenitsu tried his best to be competent, yet he always ended up cowering and shivering. Back at present, small spiders move towards Zenitsu, only for him to pass out and fall asleep. As he falls from the tree, his aura changes, and he uses the 1st form of his lightning breathing mid-air. Actually, Zenitsu only performs super well when he is pushed to the limits. The spider demon mocks Zenitsu for only using the 1st form again and again, but he is unaffected by it and remembers his master's advice. It's alright if he can only learn one move, but he must hone it to perfection. That's why out of all the 6 thunder breathing forms, Zenitsu learns just the 1st one. With that newfound motivation, Zenitsu uses his 1st form again and kills the spider demon with lightning speed. Soon, the poison starts to take effect and Zenitsu remembers his master's advice to not give up ever. He promises himself that he'll slow down the poison as much as possible using his lightning breathing, and the scene ends there. On the other hand, Tanjiro and Inosuke get attacked by a humongous demon. Tanjiro uses the second form of his water breathing, but to no avail. He is unable to cut through the hard flesh of that demon. In the meantime, Tomioka and Shinobu arrive on the mountain and find the dead bodies of those demon slayers. They decide to split up so they can search for any survivors. Back to the humongous demon. Inosuke gets severely injured and he has already lost a lot of blood. Tanjiro tries to save his partner, but gets thrown a mile away by the demon. Before falling, he tells Inosuke to stay alive until he comes back. On the other side, Zenitsu is struggling to survive, but Shinobu arrives just in time and saves him. Tanjiro also survives the fall somehow and overhears Rui torturing his sister. This frustrates Tanjiro and he begins lecturing Rui on family morals. He calls their bond forged, filling Rui with anger. A different slayer attempts to interrupt their conversation, so Rui cuts him into many pieces using his webs. Tanjiro is spooked to the bones by this, but all of this makes sense when he learns that Rui is part of the 12 Kazuki, in fact a lower rank 5. Inosuke attempts to hide from the demon, but the demon catches him. He realizes his cowardly behavior and begins running towards the demon. Since he cannot cut through the demon's arm normally, he uses his second sword as a hammer and finally chops off a limb. To Inosuke's surprise, the demon starts running away after this. He uses his beast breathing to locate the demon and finds him trembling on a tree. The demon is not actually trembling. He is shedding his skin to unleash the final form. Inosuke has nothing in his arsenal for the upgraded demon, but he remembers the old lady's advice of always living life with great pride and evades the attack at the last moment. He tries his best and uses his third form of beast breathing. However, he only ends up breaking both of his swords. The demon then picks up Inosuke and begins crushing him with his bare hands. Inosuke's skull gets cracked, but Tomioka arrives there just in time and cuts the demon's arm. Then he uses his fourth form of water breathing to separate the demon's head from his body. Inosuke cannot believe his eyes, so he challenges Tomioka to a duel. Tomioka responds by tying him up and hanging him from a tree. All this while, Tanjiro is barely holding up against Rui. He tries to use his water breathing to cut Rui's webs, but his Nichiren sword breaks in half, and Tanjiro lies on the ground, shaken and hopeless. Rui goes ahead and releases his final blow to kill Tanjiro, but Nezuko jumps out and endures the blow for her brother. Surprisingly, Rui is more shocked than Tanjiro, because he can never imagine one of his siblings doing this for him. This is the kind of family bond he wants, despite knowing that his sister would never do something like this. So, he cuts his sister into pieces without a second thought. Now, Rui gives Tanjiro an offer. If he hands over Nezuko to him, he'll spare his life. Tanjiro obviously declines the offer without thinking, and Rui is disheartened that he can't find a true sibling. So, he resorts to force and captures Nezuko using his webs. Tanjiro attempts to save Nezuko even with a broken sword, but Rui says he has broken the deal, so he strangles Nezuko with his webs and punishes her. She loses a lot of blood, and Tanjiro attacks Rui with full force, yet he gets beaten badly. Rui even leaves himself completely open to attack. Tanjiro aims at his neck, but it's useless. He can't even make a scratch on his neck. It appears that Tanjiro really has no chance against a 12 Kazuki. Now, Ryu turns towards Nezuko and tortures her even harder. Tanjiro has had enough of it, and he gathers all his strength to use the final form of water breathing. He manages to cut his webs for the first time using constant flux. Unfortunately, Rui reveals that his webs are not at their maximum strength yet and uses his blood demon art to attack Tanjiro. It appears that Tanjiro has no way to escape, and we go into a flashback. Tanjiro's father once told him to get his breathing under control and become a Hinokami. Actually, Tanjiro's father used to perform the dance of the fire god every year to ward off disasters and bad fortune. Little Tanjiro wonders how his father, who usually remains severely ill, is able to dance without getting tired even in this harsh weather. His father explains that there is a breathing technique that allows its user to not get tired. Lastly, he tells Tanjiro that no matter what he does, he needs to pass on the sun earrings and the knowledge of the Hinokami Kagura. Back at present, Tanjiro transitions from water breathing to Hinokami Kagura and cuts through the strong webs of Rui. For the first time, the two go back and forth and fight like equal opponents. Nezuko realizes her blood demon art, exploding blood, and burns Rui's webs. With that help from his sister, Tanjiro moves ahead and slices Rui's head with his broken sword. It seems that he has finally defeated a 12 Kazuki. The after effects of using Hinokami Kagura hits him soon, and he is unable to move. Tanjiro suddenly notices that he cannot pick up the scent of Rui's ashes. This is because Rui is actually alive. To Tanjiro's surprise, Rui reveals that he cut his own head with the webs before Tanjiro could do that. So he recovered, and now he will kill Tanjiro mercilessly. Rui launches an ultimate attack of his blood demon art, but just when Tanjiro lost all hope, Tomioka intervenes and saves him. Tomioka appreciates Tanjiro for holding out this long and tells him to leave the rest to him. Rui tries to attack Tomioka with his blood demon art, but he is no match for a Hashira, and Tomioka uses the 11th form of his water breathing to slash all the webs. He then finishes off Rui in a glimpse. Now we get to see Rui's backstory. A demon is running away from some demon slayers, and she gets cornered. Rui happened to be there and offered her a deal. If she promises to be his elder sister, he will save her from the slayers. The demon girl agreed, and Rui killed all the demon slayers. He then introduced her to his entire family, which consisted of many siblings and a father and a mother. But everyone was playing their roles out of Rui's fear, and he never got to experience the bond he wanted. He tortured his so-called mother and siblings, and even killed one of his sisters. And the reason he was doing all the madness was that when he became a demon, he lost all the memories of his family. So he tried to create a new family where everyone plays their role, hoping that doing this would bring back the memories of his real family. Back to the present time, Rui's sister attacks a demon slayer and traps him in a ball of yarn. She realizes a chemical inside it that would dissolve the slayer's body. Luckily, Shinobu finds them and quickly makes it clear that she is not the one to get killed by a random demon. Rui's sister realizes that her end is near and confesses to Shinobu that she is only killing humans out of Rui's fear. Shinobu replies that though this sounds tragic, she must die. After all, she has killed over 80 humans, so she has to be punished. Shinobu then attacks the demon with her insect-breathing butterfly dance, and the demon receives no critical damage. She thinks that Shinobu is too weak to slice her head, but she suddenly chokes and falls to the ground. Shinobu reveals that although she is unable to cut the head of demons, she can kill them using wisteria poison. She then rescues the demon slayer trapped in the yarn. The scene changes back to Rui's burning body. Rui apologizes for killing scores of humans and wonders if he's going to hell. He finally sees his parents, who assure him that no matter where he goes, they are with him till the very end. This way, Rui dies in peace. Tanjiro feels sympathy for Rui, but Tomioka tells him to think otherwise and not show mercy on these hideous creatures. Tanjiro argues and says that though he would never hesitate to kill a human-devouring demon, demons are hopeless and tragic creatures. Just then, Shinobu comes there and launches an attack on Nezuko, but Tomioka blocks it. Shinobu cannot understand why Tomioka is guarding a demon because it's against the Corps' rules. Tomioka tells Tanjiro to take Nezuko and run away as soon as possible while he holds out Shinobu. Unfortunately, there is another demon slayer on the mountain named Kanao Tsuyuri who begins attacking Nezuko. Several Kasugai crows then arrive on the mountain and tell everyone that Tanjiro and Nezuko are to be taken into custody and brought back to the headquarters. Now, the cleanup crew arrives on the mountain, and they take Tanjiro, Nezuko, Inosuke, Zenitsu, and other slayers back to the headquarters. The scene then changes to headquarters where Tanjiro is put on trial before the Hashiras, the 9 best demon slayers alive. The Hashiras include Kyojuro Rengoku, the Flame Hashira, Tengen Uzui, the Sound Hashira, Mitsuri Kanroji, the Love Hashira, Gyomi Himejina, the Stone Hashira, Muichiro Tokigo, the Mist Hashira, Igoro Obanai, the Serpent Hashira, Shinobu Kocho, the Insect Hashira, Sanimi Shinazugawa, the Wind Hashira, and Gyu Tomioka, the Water Hashira. Now, Shinobu asks Tanjiro why in the world is he traveling with a demon. Tanjiro explains that the demon is his younger sister. His entire family got killed by a demon, and Nezuko got infected with the demon's blood. But even after her transformation, she has never devoured a human in 2 years, and she sees all humans as her family. No Hashira buys his explanation, so Tanjiro reveals that he became a demon slayer for this very reason, so he can find a way to turn Nezuko back into a human. Then, Sanimi brings Nezuko with him and says that Tanjiro's explanation is complete garbage. He stabs the box with her sword and it makes Tanjiro extremely angry. He attacks Sanemi right there, and after dodging his first attack, gives him his signature headbutt. Everyone gets shocked as Sanemi falls to the ground. Before their quarreling goes any further, the master of the Demon Slayer Corps arrives and everyone bows down before him. Even the aggressor Sanemi is talking with manners in front of him. Tanjiro's trial resumes, and all the Hashiras express their discomfort with not killing a demon. The master acknowledges their disapproval and asks a girl to read the letter. The letter is from a former Hashira, Sakoniji Urokodaki. Urokodaki explains that Nezuko is a special demon. He confirms that she has not attacked a single human in more than 2 years, even in the most starved state. So, he requests that Tanjiro should be allowed to be accompanied by Nezuko. Although the situation sounds far-fetched, it is an indisputable fact. And in case Nezuko does attack a human, he, Tanjiro Kamado, and Gyo Tomeoka will atone by committing seppuku, a ritual suicide. This is news to Tanjiro and he begins crying as a result. Then, the master reveals that Tanjiro has met Muzan Kibutsuji, and everyone is shocked by it because not even a Hashira has seen Muzan. Some Hashiras still can't accept a slayer being accompanied by a demon. Sanemi cuts his arm with a sword and tries to lure Nezuko out of the box using his blood. Obanai points out that there is no point in trying this during the day, so Sanemi takes Nezuko under the roof. He really wants Nezuko to attack him, so he can prove to everyone that she is indeed like other demons. Nezuko comes out of her box and stares at Sanemi in anger. Luckily, she remembers the moment she spent with her parents and siblings, and to everyone's surprise, turns her head away from the dripping blood in disgust. With that, the master allows Tanjiro and Nezuki to fight together as demon slayers. Also, Tanjiro should kill one of the 12 Kazuki to get accepted by all the Hashiras, and as a result, his words will carry more weight. There, Tanjiro notices that the master's voice is so mysteriously soothing that it makes his body feel light. No wonder everyone listens to him. Then, Shinobu offers to take Tanjiro to her house, where he can recover quickly. Tanjiro and Nezuko are picked up by the Demon Slayer crew and dropped off at Shinobu's house, which is bigger than the headquarters itself. There, Tanjiro meets the girl from the final selection, Kanao Tsuyuri. Kanao was trained by Shinobu, a Hashira, and that's why she was so good from the beginning. A caretaker of the place, Kochu, takes Tanjiro to the medical room, where Zenitsu is crying over the medicines he has to take. Zenitsu's arms have shortened due to the poison, giving him another reason to be hopeless. However, he is extremely happy to meet Tanjiro, who didn't even notice Inosuke lying right on the next bed. Inosuke is apparently depressed for being so weak, and he can't get over the strength difference between him and Tomioka. Later, Tanjiro thanks Nezuko for saving him on the mountain and thinks that he is delighted to have people like Tomioka and Urokodaki on his side. He wonders why the master's voice made him feel happy, and the scene ends there. Back at headquarters, the semi-annual meeting of the Hashiras begins, and the master tells everyone that since this is the first time Muzan has revealed himself in centuries, they must hunt him down. Additionally, he believes that this is the finest unit of Hashiras he has assembled since the feudal era, so they will succeed this time. Sometime later, Shinobu asks Rengoku where is he heading, and he responds to a battle. There are rumors of a demon lurking in the area, possibly a 12 Kazuki, so he must take him down. Though it sounds like a difficult mission, Shinobu is not worried because the Flame Hashira never disappoints. At Shinobu's place, Tanjiro is happy to meet Murata, the slayer he met on the mountain. Then Shinobu shows up and asks the 3 slayers if they are ready for their rehabilitation training. 2 weeks pass by, and Zenitsu is on the last day of his bed rest when Tanjiro and Inosuke return from their rehabilitation training completely exhausted. The next day, all 3 head out to train, and they are first limbered up by 3 girls. Then they perform reflex training by going up against Kanao and 1 full-body training to end the session. Tanjiro is frustrated that none of them have even come close to Kanao in reflexes. For the next 5 days, the 3 continue to get dominated by Kanao, and Zenitsu and Inosuke stop coming to the training as a result. At night, Tanjiro is on the roof meditating when Shinobu approaches him. She asks if it feels lonely to train alone, and Tanjiro responds by saying that it's alright. Once he learns the total concentration constant, he will teach it to Zenitsu and Inosuke. Now, Tanjiro asks Shinobu why did she decide to bring them here. She reveals that apart from helping them recover, she wanted to entrust a dream of hers to Tanjiro. She wants humans and demons to be friends, and Tanjiro is one of the very few who can achieve that. Suddenly, Tanjiro picks up a scent of anger from Shinobu and asks why is she always angry despite having a smile on her face. Shinobu confesses that it is true. Her elder sister was brutally killed by a demon, so whenever she hears another cry of pain, the anguish inside her grows larger. Additionally, her sister had sympathy for demons like Tanjiro. So now when Tanjiro is on the same mission as her, she can finally rest. From the next day, Tanjiro begins training super hard while maintaining the total concentration constant. He finally breaks the hard bottle by blowing into it, and the girls bring an even bigger bottle to aim for. Soon after, Inosuke and Zenitsu also get motivated to train. Kanao sees the three of them working together, so she flips a coin to see if she should join them. The outcome is negative, and we get to see her backstory. Kanao was born in a very poor family and her parents abused her. After a certain point, something snapped inside her, and she stopped feeling pain. Even after her parents sold her off, she felt nothing. One day, Shinobu and Kocho found her tied up by her owner. They accepted Kanao as their sister right there and bought her. Kanao was emotionless and incapable of making decisions, so Shinobu gave her a coin, which she can use whenever she has to make a decision. Back to the present, Haganezuka arrives at the house with the new swords for Tanjiro and Inosuke. He is extremely angry that Tanjiro broke his sword, so he wants to kill him. Inosuke receives his two swords and he begins breaking them with a stone to suit his style. Time passes by and Tanjiro has now fully recovered. On top of that, the trio is training harder than ever, and they have mastered the total concentration constant. Tanjiro asks Shinobu if she knows anything about Hinokami Kagura and flame breathing, and she recommends that he talks to Rengoku about this since he's the flame Hashira. Then, we see a demon devouring a human on a train, and the scene ends there. A few months earlier, all the lower 6 Kazukis were summoned to Muzan's castle. Muzan shows up in disguise, and all the demons kneel before him. Muzan tells them that Rui was killed recently, so why is it that only the lower-ranked Kazukis get killed? Because the upper 6 Kazukis have remained unchanged for centuries. The lower 6 demon mocks Muzan in his mind, and Muzan is able to read his thoughts. He kills the lower 6 mercilessly, and then goes on to kill the rest of them, except the lower rank one. The lower rank one says that it's his pleasure to get killed by Muzan himself, and he looks forward to it. Muzan likes this thought and spares him. He even gives some of his blood to the lower rank one, making him a lot more powerful than before. Muzan tells him to go and kill a Hashira and the Slayer with sun earnings in order to be useful to him. At Shinobu's place, the Kasugai Crow wakes our trio and informs them that there have been more than 40 casualties on the Mugen train, so their mission is to join Kyojuro Rengoku on site. Actually, Shinobu recommends Tanjiro to the master for this mission with Rengoku because he told her that his father was a fire breather, hoping that Tanjiro might be able to learn something from Rengoku. Now, Tanjiro says goodbye to Kochu and meets Kanao to say his farewell. Kanao flips a coin and decides to finally talk to Tanjiro. She reveals that she uses this coin to decide things that weren't ordered to her. Tanjiro takes the coin from her and tells her that if it lands heads, she will have to start listening to the little voice in her heart. It lands heads and Kanao decides that she doesn't need to use the coin anymore. Before leaving, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro break the biggest bottles by blowing into them. Tomioka shows up there, and Tanjiro is delighted to meet him. He thanks him for vouching for Nezuko, and asks how he can ever return this favor. Tomioka says that by being the best demon slayer he can. Now our trio leaves for the Mugen train. They soon reach their destination and board the train. Zenitsu asks if it's a good idea to bring Nezuko, and Tanjiro says yes. He promises Nezuko that they are never going to be apart again, and the scene ends there. That was it for the recap, guys, and this concludes Season 1 of Demon Slayer. From here begins the Mugen Train arc, which we will recap in our future video.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.